Okay, I think we only have like a couple more garbage. Okay. Here's my next puzzle level. So the idea of this level is to kind of make like a more traditional-ish puzzle level where it's like a block puzzle almost. And it revolves around the idea that crates float while POWs fall, while POWs sink. And we can abuse that to kind of like make these setups where we can kind of like get these blocks into position and kind of like make progress in the level. So here, like if I were to, let's say, okay, so let's say I put these in the wrong order. Like let's say I throw this crate and then I throw the POW into the crate. Now, because the crate like will float on the water surface, the Koopa will never go high enough. So this is not going to ever actually make progress. So what you have to do is you have to throw the POW first and then the crate, and then the crate will kind of like lift the whole thing like much higher. Oof. Here, this area kind of has... It was going to be a soft lock, but then okay, so if you were to break this crate, I kind of thought through this. Oh, thank you so much for the subscription, puppy. Thank you so much for the support. I will gladly jump on your stream while you're playing horror games and give you a little jump scare. So if you were to like ground pound onto that crate, you'll soft lock yourself, right? So what I did is like, it's a little bit of a safeguard here where if you break the crate, then you get a key that lets you use the key box to reset. That should have been, in theory, a key door so that you can keep resetting. But I ran out of doors, so like I wasn't really like, again, still learning how to make proper mechanisms here. So you still have a soft lock. It's just not as bad of a soft lock as it could have. Not as bad of a soft lock as it could have been. It's at least better that if you have a soft lock, it's better the soft lock not be as bad. But it's still better to like you just use mechanisms that totally avoid them entirely. Again, standards here were not that high yet. This puzzle level also has like a little bit of lethality in how like it doles out the win condition. And I don't think I truly understood yet how to really use vertical scroll stop to like keep the camera down low. One of the major issues in this level is just that it's really easy to just kind of like, if you go in the clear pipe to go into like the puzzle room, it's really easy to kill yourself on the icicles, and I needed like ways to like stop the player from doing that. You're kind of like limited in this level. And, put a fucking, this is a garbage ass place to put a checkpoint in the reset pipe. But yeah, this level still has like some pretty cool ideas in it. Yeah, this is on my main. This is like, I'm just going through my levels in order. Like you'll very rarely see me submit my really early levels because these levels are bad. These levels are like not very good. So the idea here is that even though you use the exact same pipe, if you wait for the water level to be higher or lower, that changes how far the POW goes. So you can make, put one POW to kind of be a bridge for the Koopa, and another POW to be like a little raft on the conveyor belt to guide the Koopa to the win condition, or into your arms. Oof. It is a little bit jank. But yeah, not fully mastered the scroll stop yet, and like not really fully gotten the full like, I don't know, the full level of polish isn't there yet, although I am getting better at this point. The level design is getting cleaner. This one I showed earlier because it was actually chronologically earlier. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of big brain stuff until you realize, like, one thing I wasn't really thinking about is how frustrating, like, some of the later areas here are. The ideas are there. The main thing is, again, the execution in terms of like reducing player frustration so they can appreciate the big brain moments while not suffering through the jank moments is a big deal. All right. So here is, okay, one of my challenges to myself when I started was also to use every night theme at least once. And so here's my attempt to use Night Underground, which is upside down. So you're going to see how we're getting better gently. We start out, there's a little bit of lore. Oh, look, it's a little cabin. I'm getting a lot better now at decorating. Here, this is like the first time where I'm really like getting a lot better at the aesthetic. Start out with a little drop scare. And we're finally really using decorative semi-solids now. Like here, the aesthetic is like really getting a lot better. Little Z indicator. You know, just some basic platforming. There's a soft lock. Like all these areas up here are soft locks. I did not know, and because I had not yet started really playtesting these things on Twitch, on live streams, I didn't really learn that until way later when someone commented, hold up, warning, soft lock here, still a good level, help, be careful. It's like those moments that really fill you with cringe, man. Stuff. Yeah, that's right, puppy. If people get too frustrated, even if it's a cool idea, they'll just like leave the level. But yeah, like now we see, oh, we need a P-switch to kind of make progress, but there's no way to get the P-switch. Eventually the player will realize, okay, let's go in the pipe. Maybe after getting soft locked. But oh man, now it's an upside down level. And this is when people are like, oh no, help. So you don't actually have to do like, okay, because I was aware upside down is really hard. My plan here is to make the upside down sections way, way easier. So like, it's a duality level. You play through the same section effectively twice through like this gravity flipping illusion. Like both the main world and the subworld are just the same level, just mirror images, just to make this illusion. And one, because of the difficulty of maneuvering upside down, all the upside down maneuvering is done to be way, way, way easier. Like here, we don't have to do all this like upside down Z spinning to like get up. You can just kind of like walk up here and like go grab the P switch. So the idea is that Mario's always advantaged when you're upside down. And that really helps a lot. And also, as a duality level, it's a cool level. It takes a lot of effort. I'm not sure I would do it again. Mostly because it's a lot of effort. Like every time you make edits to one section that you want to change how it plays in the main world or the subworld, you have to make an equal change in the other world. And also like it's restricted by the edits you make in one world are really restricted by the changes you make in the other world. So you're kind of like tuning two things at once. And it's kind of like annoying to make. Yeah, an upside down Kaizo. I mean, it's been done before, Pybro, but upside down Kaizo is just terrible. One thing that is cool about this level is that when you're upside down, like I made it so that it really plays differently upside down. Like cloud blocks, when these cloud blocks are placed there, in the upside down version, you can't make progress, right? But in the right side up version, you can. In the upside down version, you can just kind of like walk on the donut block to get in the pipe. But in the right side up version, you have to actually like take the donut down to go into the pipe. So these are all like minor gameplay differences that are actually kind of cool to get in. Now, one of the main issues, like one of the main things that kind of sucked about this section is upside down wall jumping and how long it is. This section probably should have had another checkpoint here, but I wanted to use the checkpoints in a red coin level, so the level's kind of like longer. Again, aesthetic, we're improving. Now we know, you know, upside, like we're using the on-ground decorations and the semi-solids now. Hey, Teramos. But yeah, I mean, the way that I executed on the upside down here, I think is actually good. Of all the problems with this level, I think upside down is actually not one of them, surprisingly enough. And that's because the level is just so much weaker. Even though people will complain about it being upside down and being awkward, the level is designed to be way, way, way easier when upside down. So Mario's always advantaged in the upside down world. Because if you don't do that, then the level becomes unreasonable bullshit. Now, here's a little section that I think is like a pretty cool little setup. You can activate these question mark blocks. And, oh look, we have a fire flower, progressive fire flower, that we can reach. Except we can't when it's right side up. A lot of people are like, oh man, we can't do that. But then they'll go into the upside down version. It's like, well, these clouds, now the clouds are flipped, which lets you in. And you can easily just like grab this fire flower. No problem. A lot of people don't put 2 and 2 together and they're just like, oh, I guess I can't get that. And so here, and this is like one of the most awkward parts of the level, which is upside down wall jumping. And this gives people a lot of problems. What I did to kind of mediate that, or to kind of like remedy this, is that in the right side up version, there's death pits. Like if you fall down when platforming here, you will die. Like that's a death pit, you instantly die. But here, in theory, you should easily have a fire flower. Some people don't figure out how to get the fire flower, and so they have less chances. But the only way to really die here from upside down wall jumping is on... Let me see if I can zoom in. Is by dying on these spikes. So you always have extra time, just like damage boosting, to like make it work. And you should have multiple layers of power-ups to make this work. So in theory, this shouldn't be like... While it's a tough challenge, it's actually like not as punishing, which is very critical. Man, getting near a timer just because I've been chatting so much. Yeah, again, these clouds really function as like one ways that change in between the worlds. So, like the clouds like let you through in the main world, but not in the subworld. That really controls it. Now, the reason I didn't have this checkpoint before is because I wanted this to be a red coin, like multiple boss level, which is cool. But I think that it also kind of made this level kind of long. And that's one thing that I would reduce. I would put in like only one boss. So again, with the bosses, Mario's always supposed to be advantaged in the upside down version and not in the right side, or is always advantaged in the upside down version. So the bosses are not really killable in the right side up version, but they are in the upside down version. Here, the one main difference in the level is like we have these saws, which make it a little bit more challenging, or well, substantially more challenging. But in theory, it's not too bad. Eventually, Kammy Koopa will like open up these like ice blocks so you can like smash her. And I put some sound effects to kind of like drive players, and eventually people will realize how this room has to play out. It would have been a little bit more helpful to have this room be like a little bit smaller, again, given the whole scope of the level being like pretty long. But overall, it kind of works out. Here, I finally put in a proper safety coin, where if you get the safety coin like prematurely, you do have to suicide. It is a little bit awkward though, just to like actually reach the spike. That transition looked tough, at least for me. I don't know which transition you're talking about, puppy. You mean the upside down wall jumping? Right. Also, the lobbies always have some power-ups for you, so you always go into these boss rooms with some extra power-ups. So you have like extra like ability to deal with these bosses. Go in this one. So here's like basically infinite Magic Koopas, and they'll just like keep coming at you. And this is the only time where you really have to use the Magic Koopa magic to like open up some pipes. Some people think it's to pick a pipe. It's either pipe is fine. I put 2 so that you'd have like, it'd be easier so you have multiple targets to hit. And so here the idea is that now Mario's advantaged in the sense that how to put this? The Magic Koopas no longer spawn from these pipes. But yeah, this is like one of Kammy's powers where he can just make clones of himself. And that's kind of like the lore reason behind this room. It kind of works, but it's also like really annoying to do this fight upside down. Well, not like super annoying, but it's like, it can be pretty rough. I'm not gonna bullshit you, it can be pretty rough. And the last one is a room that's a little bit too cramped. A little bit too cramped. You use these bomb-bombs to either like blast your way through, etc., and then the boss is dead. Let's just move on. We've spent too long on this level. But yeah, cool level, too long in my opinion, and sometimes a little jank. Well, not that jank, but like, we're getting better. You can see that there's a clear progression here. Like the skill level, my skill level as a maker is like improving, but we're still like, we're not there yet. There's still progress to be made here. All right. So the idea behind this level is fucking awesome. I fucking love this level. So the scope of this level is like really hard to deal with, and it's a real love it or hate it experience. I personally love it. The idea is that this is a graph-based level. So we have 10 rooms. These 10 rooms are arranged like the Petersen graph. The Petersen graph is a graph with many very special properties that actually make it really good for gameplay. Like, it's a, hold on. And I just kind of like walk you through. So, and the player just doesn't have to know any of this. I'm just gonna like kind of like tell you why. So the first time I recorded this, I accidentally gave like a 10-minute lecture on the Petersen graph, so I got a little carried away. So this time I'm gonna try to give broad strokes. So why did I pick the Petersen graph? What's its special property for gameplay purposes? So first, it has a diameter of 2. The diameter of a graph is from one point to another, what's the longest possible minimum distance that you need to travel to get from one room to another. Having a small diameter of 2 means that no matter what room you're in, you are at most one connecting room apart from getting to your destination. So you're never actually very far away from getting to a missing key coin or a missing checkpoint or whatever. Second, it has a girth of 5. Girth is the smallest cycle in the graph. So because it has a girth of 5, that means that if you don't backtrack, and most players don't backtrack, you're guaranteed to not land in the same room for 5 rooms in a row. And that's very important for exploration, because if you wind up seeing the same room over and over and over again, it gets very frustrating because it feels like you're going around in circles and not really making any progress. So a large girth is actually very, very helpful for exploration. Next, the Petersen graph has a Hamiltonian path, which means that there is a way to go through the level, to go through every single room exactly once and never see it again, which helps in part for speedrunning purposes and also makes sure that when the level is built, you never actually make a room that you have to go to multiple times. Like any revisits are kind of avoidable. Additionally, the Petersen graph is cubic, meaning that every single room has 3 ways in and out of it, which means doors and pipes. Well, if you always enter a room through one door/pipe, then that means that every time you enter a room, you have 2 options. You always have route A and route B that you could potentially go on. And that makes it so that it's never overwhelming in terms of like the number of possibilities that you have for how you might want to navigate the graph or might navigate the level. The last special property of the Petersen graph, and probably the most important one to drawing me to go choose it, is that it's strongly regular, which means that it's extremely symmetric. So if the player is in the Petersen graph in this level, there's never like one room or like one passageway that kind of feels different from any other path. So any room or any like route that you take in the Petersen graph is going to feel pretty similarly to any other room. It's not like you have like one specific room that feels like, oh, I'm in the corner of the level or whatever. Like, no. Everything just feels like just explore. And that's kind of the whole point of this level, which is you go in and you just explore. You see new things. You don't stress out about, you know, trying to min-max like what's the shortest route or anything. You just go. And that's kind of what I was going for. And I hope this explanation gives you a little bit of context to understand why I chose this particular graph. That is how it all works. That is the way the magic happens. The first version of this level had no power-ups, which made it really unforgiving. And in a level like this, dying actually is like really frustrating because you lose track of like where you've been and where you haven't been. So it's adding power-ups to this level was really helpful. If I made this level again today, I would reduce the lethality as well. One thing you'll also know about this level is that every room is super different. Like, they look nothing alike. Like, you look at this room, like, you just see a bunch of dotted line blocks everywhere. It's like not at all similar to the other rooms. This room has a bunch of piranha plants. I mean, we can collect this red coin, like, no problem, really. So part of it is because every room is so different and super distinctive, it really helps the player. It really helps the player like keep track of which room is which. Imagine if all the rooms felt kind of samey. That would be catastrophic because then you'd have no idea where the fuck you've been, where the fuck you're going, if you've been somewhere already, etc. Yeah, major checkpoint, here we go. I don't really remember the full layout of the level, so I'm just kind of like discovering it again myself. We're learning here scroll stops. Scroll stops are good. The scroll stop isn't wide enough, so like you can actually activate one of these P-switches from one of the adjacent rooms, unfortunately. And again, like, this little setup is cool. Lethality is a little bit high for what we want. One thing that I thought would be actually pretty cool about this level is using on-off switches. So like, even though it's a Petersen graph, like some of the rooms are a little bit different. This was not a good idea. Like this is bad because it makes, there's one red coin in the level that because of how the connectivity wound up being, you actually have to like enter a certain room from a certain door. And that is really bad. That's very, very, very bad. Well, a certain room from one of two doors. And a lot of people get unlucky and they don't think to check out the left side of the dotted line block room, which has usually the last red coin. But overall, you can see the idea. Like, the idea here, pretty solid. Some of the rooms have on-off switches, and the rooms with on-off switches aren't affected by the on-off switches. Only other rooms are. If I had gone back, I would, like, change basically how this level is, like, constructed, such that, like, basically reduce the importance of those on-off switches. Like, the on-off switches, in theory, shouldn't really be changing, like, what paths you're able to access. In my personal opinion. And here is the one that's really hard to access. There we go. If you get that red coin, the world is yours. But yeah, the whole level is kind of like that. I won't go through it because like they're all like kind of individual sections. One thing that's also a major weakness of this level is that it really lacks a core theme outside of the connectivity. Like the connectivity is the idea, which is not the best because it makes the level not the most cohesive. And one thing that I really royally fucked up, and you're going to see this in the following level, is... Let me see here. The safety coin is not protected, and that's a major issue. I should have really put a shit ton of, like, donut blocks here to, like, make sure the player knows, like, by the way, you're about to grab the safety coin and have a way to get the fuck out. Hey, Enigma. Ironically, not sure what you mean ironically. But yeah, that safety coin not being protected is bad. I like that idea so much that I made another level. And this one is based on the Grotzch graph, which similarly also a really cool exploration-based level. Like, graph levels, really awesome for exploration. Someone else made a little picture, and I'm really grateful. This is a good fucking comment. This is the picture. This is what the level's connectivity looks like. So this might not mean a whole lot to most of you, but the Grotzch graph is special because its automorphism group is isomorphic to the dihedral group of order 5, which means that it has, as an object, it has the same symmetry as a regular pentagon. Which, I mean, if you look at it, like, you see that 5-fold symmetry axis. Like, if you were to rotate the whole object by 2 pi over 5, or like a fifth of a turn, whatever that is in degrees, like, you'd get the same object back, right? And that's what's really cool about the Grotzch graph. Additionally, and this goes similar to kind of how I built the Petersen graph level, diameter is small, so the diameter of the Grotzch graph is 2. So again, like, you're never very far from any room that you need to get to, and the girth is 4, meaning that as long as you don't backtrack, you're guaranteed to not reach the same room again for 4 rooms in a row, which is, again, really very, very good to stop the player from feeling like they're going around in circles and not really making any progress. What you will notice is that there's one room that clearly feels like a hub in this level, like the very core center. Like, unlike the Petersen graph, which is symmetric, the Grotzch graph has one room, one vertex, that has very many connections. And I strategically put a checkpoint there because it's very easy to find that checkpoint and get to that checkpoint room and access other rooms from that checkpoint. Yes, that is correct, Enigma. The idea, like, the level, the connectivity is the idea, but the actual gameplay within the level is disjoint. And the reason it's disjoint is so that you can kind of remember very clearly which room is which. You can actually see, like, a little, like, layout of that graph in the thumbnail too. Thank you, puppy. It is pretty good. Bloated regular pentagon. Yes, it kind of is, Reporter, because it needs all the symmetry operations. Basically, it's. Let me see if I can, like, describe the situation. So, this might be... Those are the two main things that define, or the two main symmetry elements that define the symmetry of, well, that object. So the main thing is that each room, as a result, is going to have, I believe, degree is the number of is the number of pipes and doors going into and out of the room. Most of the rooms have degree 3 or 4, and there's a single room of degree 5. This is one of order 4. Again, you'll see that all the rooms, again, have a very clear gameplay idea that's totally separate in it. We have some power-ups here so that we aren't too punishing. And one thing that's, like, really different here is this is a safety coin. And it gives the player a lot of time to realize, oh wait, let's not go get that. It says last. And so in this level, you can just kind of, like, explore kind of freeform and not really stress too much. That's kind of like the whole point of the level. Well, puppy, I'm a polymer chemist, so yes, you could say that. But I just find it really cool, to be honest. Even though I'm not a mathematician. Similar concept here with checkpoints that aren't like immediately a 2 checkpoint system. Or not a normal infinite checkpoint system. Snoop, are you saying something? Well, thank you. Snoop says she married me because I'm super smart. I would say... I mean, I'm not gonna, like, say no to free praise, so... I'll just say yeah. I love you too, darling. Bless her soul for putting up with me. Hey, Anulel. But yeah, like you can just kind of like explore. You come in and out of these rooms. There's like multiple obstacles that kind of like get you into each of these rooms through different ways that make getting access to all the red coins easier or harder. The only connection in the level that is not because I ran out of connections, that you only have so many pipes and doors. The one connection that's like not a pipe or a door is the one here into this room and the one down here into this other room. And this one took a lot of de-cheesing to stop people from being able to grab the Yoshi and take it and smuggle it out. But yeah, that's enough. I feel like that always turns into like some level of bragging, but like I think the idea is like really cool. I really like graph-based levels, and I wish other people would make graph-based levels for me. The main thing is that you have to pick a really good graph for it. Anyway.